Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Well, I've really been looking forward to presenting this topic, and maybe I picked the wrong evening or midday because it's a nice topic. It's a very nice topic. But it'll be recorded so people that aren't here could hear it later. This is a section from the Padma Purana, Bhagavatam-Mahatmya section, the Glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. And in this section, as we heard yesterday, same as Skanda Purana, the Padma Purana speaks of, or writes about, or presents Uddhava's speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to the queens. In Vrindavan, at Uddhavakund. And so this is Uddhava speaking, and aside from the queens, there's Maharaj Parikshit came with them, and the great-grandson of Krishna, Vajranava, is also present. That's the scene. We're in Vrindavan, and Uddhava is specifically addressing Maharaj Parikshit. I will now tell you the means of having Krishna manifest within one's heart. Now, the queens are the audience, but he's speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. When Lord Krishna is unmanifest, because the queens are feeling separation from Krishna because he's departed, he will appear from Srimad Bhagavatam. Whenever and wherever the devotee Bhagavata hears and recites the book Bhagavata, at that time and at that place Lord Krishna personally appears. Wherever a verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, or even half a verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, is recited, Lord Krishna and his beloved gopis manifest there. After attaining a human birth in the land of Bharat, those who do not hear Srimad Bhagavatam due to sinful activities are committing suicide. Strong language. A person who regularly hears or recites Srimad Bhagavatam delivers the forefathers of his wife, mother, and father. So in case you wanted to do those things, you know what to do, how to do those things. Regularly. Hear and recite. And following that declaration, Uddhava gives the following history. This is a Purana, Padma Purana, and the history he gives is the story of Gokarna. This is a photograph of a painting of Gokarna. It's along the river Tungabhadra, and that's how the narration begins. And in this place, it doesn't say what's the name of the city, but of course there's a city named Gokarna that's apparently named after Gokarna, the narrator of Srimad Bhagavatam. In this place, there was a Brahmana. The Brahmana's name was Atmadeva, and Atmadeva was a Smarta Brahmin, and he was very wealthy, and he was quite miserly. So miserly that although he was quite wealthy, he engaged in the profession of begging door to door as a Brahmana. And he was honored, so he had more wealth. He was happy to have more wealth. And he had a wife, and his wife was named Dunduli. Now, Dunduli also came from a Brahmana family. She had certain characteristics. She was very beautiful. She was inclined to talk too much and criticize others. She had a bad mouth. She was very skilled at fault finding. And she was like her husband. She was miserly and quarrelsome, and she was very skilled in her household affairs. So they had no children. They got along reasonably well, but Atmadeva was very sad. Too sad. And he was like King Chitraketu. He wanted a son. So one fine day, he went for a walk into the forest, and he happened along the way to find a rishi. Now this is Padma Purana describing this history. And when he saw the rishi saw him, he looked very sad and started crying. And the rishi asked him, what are you crying about? What's the matter? And Atmadeva said, I must have been very sinful in my previous life. I have no son. I have a cow, and the cow has no calf. I have a mango tree, but it bears no fruit. Boo-hoo. Nothing seems to be working out in my life. What to do? So the rishi, being rishi, he gave wisdom. And in his wisdom, he described not simply having a child means you'll be happy. And he told the story of King Chitraketu, who had a son after much, much, much ordeal, but then that son was the cause of his great disturbance. And if you like, I'll conduct your astrological chart, which he did, and your astrological chart says, for 7 lifetimes you're not to have children. So don't work against your karma, accept your karma, it is what it is, for whatever the reason, and just accept it. However, Atmadeva couldn't accept it. And when the sage, the rishi, saw how determined, and not just determined, like super attached he was, he then decided, okay, I'll give you the means by which you can have a son. Here's a fruit, and if you give the fruit to your wife, she has to follow the following rules. And he gave a set of rules that were very strict, and by following these rules, she'll, in the course of time, bear a son. So Atmadeva was very, very grateful. He took the fruit, gave the fruit to his wife, and Duduli thought, he said, the rishi said, this son of yours is going to bring you great misery. Like King Chitraketu, the loss of his son will bring him great misery. Your son will bring you great misery. You won't find happiness in this son, but you're so attached, okay. So Dunduli was considering, I'm not going to be able to follow all these mode of goodness regulations. Of course, she's a Brahmani, but I won't be able to do all of what the sage said to do. And moreover, if I become pregnant, then after having a child, I'll become heavier in weight, and I don't want that. I like my nice, beautiful, slender figure, and I don't want to take this fruit. She told her husband, I'll take it in the morning. So what happened was she consulted some friend and a friend said she didn't give any suitable advice. Her younger sister came to visit. She disclosed to her younger sister the predicament, the pledge, what her husband's expectation was. And her younger sister said, well, I'm pregnant and I already have several children. If you like, I can give you this next child that's born. You can tell your husband that it's your child. And she thought that was a good idea. There's no explanation of how, whether Dunduli, the absence of pregnancy would be recognized by the husband or not, but she just accepted the principle. The younger sister said, I need some money. So you give me some money and I'll give you my next born child. And so that was the arrangement. And they both decided, let's give the mango to the barren cow, and it'll test out the power of the mango. So some time passed, and sure enough, the barren cow gave birth to a human being that had ears like a cow, and thus they named him Gokarna. So Atmadeva didn't know exactly what happened, but he just accepted, this is my son, because that's what the Rishi had said. And it turns out Gokarna was a very qualified young Brahmin boy, born of a cow mother. And the mango fruit was the father. And he lived his life as he grew up, he was very dharmic. And the second son, as far as the father was, Atmadeva was concerned, he had now two sons. He had no sons, now he has two. And the second was Dundakari. Dundakari was very bad. And he became worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, very troublesome and very wicked. He, the second son, although he was born of a Brahmani, and Atmadeva considered him to be a Brahmana, he did just the opposite. He was very cruel, very harsh. He did bad things. He would steal, he would lie, he would, behave in ways that's not becoming of the son of a Brahmana. And he was very expert at squandering his father's money. So his father's wealth diminished and diminished and diminished to the point where he had no wealth remaining. The son Dundakari, came and demanded some money. His father said, I don't have any more money. You've squandered it all. So then he took his father's deity paraphernalia, said, I'm going to sell it. This will do me for today. And when I come back tomorrow, you better have some money or I'm going to make a big problem for you. He threatened his father. And his father didn't know what to do. His father consulted Gokarna, his very qualified son, and Gokarna said, he gave transcendental knowledge. His son was more elevated than the father. The father was a smarter Brahmin, but a miserly, wealthy man that now had lost all his wealth and has lost all his intelligence. So Gokarna gave transcendental knowledge that his father, his advice was, because of your attachment to all that is temporary, just see the predicament. He knew the history of the mango fruit and it's so forth and so on and so on. Because you were too attached and not willing to accept your destiny, now you're in this predicament. I recommend that you leave home and go to the forest and practice penance to purify your consciousness. So his father did that. And the next day, as was promised, Dundukari came and he wanted some money, but there was no money. So he threw a big fit and made a big mess of the house. And his mother, or Dunduli, was so frustrated with the whole situation, the loss of her husband, the loss of their wealth, and this adopted son that was just so problematic, she committed suicide. She jumped in a well. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam-Mahatmya section of Padma Purana. And Uddhava's narrating this to Maharaj Parikshit and to queens. Now, it's not exactly the story that we hear in Srimad Bhagavatam, but it's part of what Uddhava narrated. In other words, the details are certainly different, but the principle is very similar to the King Chitraketu story, some elements. So there's Gokarna. His father has gone to the forest. His mother committed suicide, so he just left also. He left their home. So now Dundukari had 5 girlfriends. They weren't exactly wives. They weren't exactly not wives. They were like prostitute wives. And they were also very demanding. And he, Dundukari, decided, then I'm going to steal. So he went to, of all places, he went to the king's palace. And he stole a whole bunch, thinking I won't have to steal again, I've got a whole bunch. And he was caught. And he was given severe punishment, such severe punishment that he died in this sinful condition. And he became a ghost because of his sinful behaviors. And someone from the village where the family had lived before went to find Gokarna, found Gokarna, told him the whole story. So Gokarna, being a Brahmin, he performed Shraddha ceremony for his departed brother. And then he went back to see what was left of the house and if there was something he could do to help stabilize things. And when he went back that night, he had a dream. And in his dream, in his dream, he saw his ghost brother. And his ghost brother pleaded with him, please help me, please help me, please help me. And when he woke up, he vividly remembered the dream. One of the worship activities he did was he worshipped Suryadev. In his prayer to Suryadev, he asked Suryadev what to do to help my brother. I did the Shraddha ceremony, but he's still suffering, so it didn't work. Supposed to relieve him from that suffering condition. That's the idea. So he doesn't have to suffer in that hellish condition. So then Surya, this is Padma Purana, it's not Brihad, it's Srimad Bhagavatam Mahatmya section. Surya said, you can relieve your brother of all the reactions of his past sins. You simply have to narrate the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, and he'll be relieved of all of his sins. He and generations before and after will be relieved of all their sins. So, hearing this instruction from his worshipable Suryadev, Gokarna decided to recite Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days. Bhagavad-Saptaha, right? And he invited all the village people to come. because he had, the relationships with these people, and he wanted them to benefit also. And when it was informed, when Dundukari came to know, the place was so packed, there wasn't a place for him to sit. So he, Dundukari, made his residence inside the hollow of a bamboo, because he was in a ghost body, he could fit, because it's subtle. And according to this history that's being narrated by Uddhava, at the end of the first day, there was a bamboo pole right behind that had 7 knots, and the first of the 7 knots broke. And then each day, through the course of the 7-day narration of Srimad Bhagavatam, another knot or another section of the bamboo broke, taking it or demonstrating as a sign he's getting closer and getting closer and getting closer. And when Gokarna completed reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, much to his amazement, the ghost-like form of his brother is now transformed to a spiritual-looking form. And further, so that came out of the broken bamboo. And then a Vaikuntha Vimana descended. And the messengers from the Vaikuntha Vimana invited Dundukari in his now resplendent, effulgent form to get on the Vimana, and they'd take him to the spiritual world. So Gokarna said, wait a minute, there's so many other people in the assembly here, and where's the Vimana for all those people? And then there's this nice section, I'd like to read it. This is directly, a translation from this section. Here we go. The difference in results comes of the differences in the quality of their hearing. This is the punchline of the whole thing. Very similar to what we heard yesterday. One of the topics yesterday was, are these statements about the Srimad Bhagavatam being given as a gift on Bhadra Purnima, is it artavad? Is it simply an exaggeration? So this is similar. The quality, according to what we heard, has something to do with the faith that one has in the pronouncement, the scripture itself, and so forth. The difference in results comes of the differences in the quality of their hearing. Everyone present, it is true, listened to the Bhagavatam, but not everyone reflected on what they had heard. The difference in results came from this, as well as the quality of their worship. The ghost listened for 7 days, but each night he worshipped the Lord, during which time he reflected with concentration on what he had heard. Knowledge, which is unstable, is lost, as it is the learning of someone who has been inattentive. Japa, done without concentration or hearing. Advice, which come from a doubtful source, are both wasted. A land without Vaishnavas is worthless, as is the offering of oblations by a person without qualifications. Charity given to an unlearned person, and a family which has no ethical principles. To obtain the fruits of hearing the Bhagavatam, one should have faith in the words of the spiritual master and an attitude of humility about his own worth. He should be victorious over the flaws of the mind and have unswerving concentration on the topics he is hearing. This is like just a translation from Padma Purana speaking about how to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, narrated by Uddhava to King Parikshit and the queens. When all these people hear the Bhagavatam a second time, so this is an invitation, They too will gain eternal residence in Vaikuntha. Of this there is no doubt. As for you, Gokarna, Govinda will personally take you to Goloka, the abode of the cows. Far out, huh? I mean, there's no envy. Padma Purana to Bhagavad Purana. No envy, no competition. Very similar to what we heard yesterday. And this is Sanatana Goswami writing that within an assembly of exalted scriptures, they're all exalted. As soon as Srimad Bhagavatam enters into that arena, they all pale in significance, or they stand in honor. So the Vimana took off. The Vaikuntha messengers took off. So Gokarna took it that he should narrate it a second time. And the second time he gathered the villagers, and boy, they were attentive. Better than the first time. The same audience was again present, but this time they listened more carefully than they had previously. At the end of the week, guess what? A whole series of Vaikuntha Vimanas descended. Sri Hari himself descended into the assembly, because that's what Uddhava said at the beginning of this narration. Isn't it? Surrounded by innumerable associates with innumerable vimanas. The sounds of prayer and glorification resounded in all direction. Even Lord Hari himself added to the auspicious cacophony by blowing his conch, Panchajanya, which he always holds in his hand. The Lord then embraced Gokarna tightly, transforming the devotee who took the dark form of Vaikuntha resident with 4 arms, yellow silk dress, jeweled crown, and earrings. Instantly, everyone in the assembly was similarly transformed. Nice Bhagavatam class, right? Into divine beings, and as a result, of Gokarna's mercy, were given places in the celestial carriages and taken to the transcendental abode sought after by the great yogis. The Lord of the cows, Gopal, took Gokarna with him to his own abode of Goloka. And they all lived happily ever after. Here's the illustration showing all this. There's Gokarna with ears like a cow. There's the Vimana descending. There's the 7th knot of the bamboo pole and the celestially fulgent form of Dundakari manifested, and he was brought back to the spiritual world. It's not too simple. It's an exaggeration, right? It's Arthavad, right? You sure? Why not? If you were here, you would go back. If you don't remember, go back and hear yesterday's class, and you'll find the answer. So I want to end by a couple of prayers, 3 prayers. These are prayers by Sanatana Goswami in the writing Krishna Lila Stava. Here's the translation. It's a glorification, because the glorification is at the bottom. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabho. Here we go. Oh, Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, nectar churned from the ocean of all the Vedic scriptures. Oh, prominent transcendental fruit of all the Vedas. Oh, you are enriched with the jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusions. Oh, you who grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world. Oh, life breath of the Vaishnava devotees. O Lord, you are the sun which has arisen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. You are actually Lord Krishna, who has returned among us. Now the message is, as we've been hearing, it's not a new message. The Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. Same as what Padma Purana says specifically, the 12 cantos are the 12 parts of his body. And, the same can be our endowment depending upon our faith and our attentiveness to the activity. Everything that's possible, everything transcendently good and transcendently possible is packed into Srimad Bhagavatam. Anything that one may wish from Krishna, we have many desires. I was just discussing with one young person yesterday. Krishna says, there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, 4 types of pious people render service unto me. I want, or I want. Om Jai Jagadisha Hare. When we were in Carbondale, before coming here, I was in St. Louis, and the invitation was to go to Carbondale because there's a devotee that's a professor. There's a nice club at the university. And somehow the Hindu temple, I mentioned this the other day, the Hindu temple got wind that I was in Carbondale, so they invited me to come speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. I was happy to do that. And at the end, several things. One lady said, I already have the Bhagavatam, but I haven't read it. I started reading, I was enthusiastic when I got it, but I didn't continue what to do. So he gave a solution. Join a reading group and read it together, as we need to do here in Naperville with the so many sets of the Bhagavatams. The follow-up. And then in Hindi, I didn't understand what they said, but I found out later what they said. They were very much appreciating ISKCON, Prabhupada, and Srimad Bhagavatam. And indirectly, they were encouraging people to take Srimad Bhagavatam. So probably that did happen. But there was one person that wanted the Bhagavatam set, and it was delivered personally to their home. And at the end, they did arti. And this is one of those Hindu temples that you name it, and they were deities. All, like 180 degrees worth of deities. And, a number of them were Vishnu Tattva deities, Parshuram and Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman, and Lakshmi Narayan, and, but they have these mantras that they chant, and many of you know those mantras, because I've heard it. I mean, the main place that I've heard it in ISKCON is, sorry to say, but the Gujarati community really likes that Om Jaya Jagadisha Hare song. And, even in ISKCON programs where it's not worshiping this Deva and that Devi, they sing it because they like it. I mean, not all, that was years ago. I haven't heard it in a long time. So that's what they did. Om Jai Jagadisha Hare, and I want this, and I want that, and I want the other thing. So indirectly, they're also devotees. But, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukriti norjana. They're pious, they're sukriti, and they want this, they want that, and they want the other, and they want the other. And Krishna accepts them as devotees. However, the Srimad Bhagavatam, we're going to hear it this evening, Dharmak projita kaitavotra, paramo nirmat saranam satam. The Bhagavatam doesn't indulge in that kind of Dharma. The Dharma that's by design, fulfill this desire, fulfill that desire, Om Jai Jagadisha Hare. It's by design exclusively devotional service. There's nothing wrong with the indirect, but there's nothing like the direct. Because the indirect needs one, like Prabhupada's example. You know the example. If someone says, my dear sir, can you touch your nose? You know, the normal thing is to do this. But you can also do this. Prabhupada sitting on the Vyasasana, reaching his arm around his head and touching his nose. You can do the indirect. That's also a way to touch your nose. But the end is touch your nose. So the direct is the Bhagavatam. Squeaky clean, direct. And the indirect that can easily mislead people into the indirect is it. The indirect is fulfilling material desires is it. That's it. You go to God to get material desires fulfilled, that's it. He's this order supplier, and he has a big warehouse, and he can take care of anything you want. Om Jai Jagadisha Hare. And that's not what the Bhagavatam is. I mean, those who want material prosperity, they can also worship Krishna and read Srimad Bhagavatam and get material prosperity because their punya comes and that's their desire. So they may receive that. But the intention of the Bhagavatam is, even with that happening, direct the attention of the reader or the listener to the personality of Godhead. So here's more of Sanatana Goswami's verses. Oh, Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. By reading you, one attains transcendental bliss, for your syllables rain pure love of God upon the reader. You are always to be served by everyone, for you are an incarnation of Lord Krishna. So the Bhagavatam is a person, not it. Two more. Oh, Srimad Bhagavatam, my only friend, my companion, my teacher, my great wealth, my deliverer, my good fortune, my bliss, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. So the good fortune is something you never lose. There's good fortune in the form of wealth you may have for a while, but we know what happens with the goddess of fortune. She doesn't stay put. She moves. So misfortune, good fortune may become misfortune that then one laments, etc., etc., etc. And, reality is we're in a place of duality, and sometimes there's good fortune, sometimes there's misfortune. And when there's a misfortune, wait a while, the kaleidoscope will turn, and who knows what's next. But it's a place of, there's going to be something else, because that's the nature of the place. Regardless of what your horoscope may be, Srimad Bhagavatam can bring all good fortune. It can adjust the stars so that, and the influence of the stars such that good fortune comes your way. And the transcendental bliss. This is our last slide. Oh, Srimad Bhagavatam, O giver of saintliness to the unsaintly. Oh, uplifter of the very fallen, please do not ever leave me. Please become manifest upon my heart and my throat, accompanied by pure love of Krishna. Now these are prayers by Sanatana Goswami, honoring, of course, it's honoring Krishna, but in honoring Krishna, he is honoring the Bhagavatam, because the Bhagavatam is Krishna. And we it takes a while to feel that, because it's just like the deity is wood or stone, and the mantra is a sound, and the book is a book. Because that's how we relate to things that are physical objects. Even sound objects, because that's also physical. But to get to the point where Sanatana Goswami is writing from, and it's not just poetic, it's him. As we heard yesterday. Some of you may not have been with us yesterday. When Sanatana Goswami was a young Brahmin boy, one evening he had a dream, and in his dream, a Brahmin came to him in his dream and made a gift of Srimad Bhagavatam to him. And when he woke up, he was startled. He remembered the dream vividly. And sure enough, that very day, the same Brahmin that appeared in his dream came and brought him Srimad Bhagavatam. It doesn't say what shape it was in or anything, but gave him Srimad Bhagavatam. And so from that day forward, he immersed himself in reading Srimad Bhagavatam and living it. And as a result, he was a perambulatory Srimad Bhagavatam. Walking, living, breathing Srimad Bhagavatam. And in so many ways, teaching by example and by his writings and by his teachings. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is that kind of transformational literature, especially if we read it with these nice qualifiers regularly. And as this Srimad Bhagavatam Mahatmya section is indicating, with attentiveness, please. And it's a qualitative difference. The sound is the same, but the qualitative difference is how it impacts us. So we've spoken a lot about the Bhagavatam, and we're going to do one more this evening. So let's see if there's some discussion.
Just want to thank you for this festival for Srimad Bhagavatam, the series. It was so nice. I want to also report that the reading groups that was started a couple of years back, they all have been continuing, and they're almost in 10th canto, 9th canto, and so on. So thank you for your blessings.
Well, this lady in Carbondale, if she doesn't find a reading group, she can join one of these reading groups. Because it sounded like, she is an educated, articulate lady, and it sounded like she actually wanted but needed a little jump start. And there's probably a lot of people like that. So, a request, contact Rupa Vilas and see if she found a reading group to join, and if not, invite her to one of the reading groups. And they can go to the 10th canto, no problem, and go loop around and go back to the 1st canto. But once she's in the habit, once somebody has this regular habit, it's easy. Forming good habits helps get rid of bad ones. Anything else? It's coming over here. It's coming. Hang on. Go ahead. You got to hit the right button. Just ask a teenager; they'll show you how to do it.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this has been a long-standing question. How do I deal with the disagreeable topics? I mean, I find it
in the Bhagavatam.
In the Bhagavatam, I find it very difficult to just accept and move through. To give the context, I am reading 9th canto, Chavanamuni.
So, 3 things. Faith, patience, and sadhu sangha. The patience, in my language, is you have a parking lot. If you don't understand something, it may trouble your heart. That's okay. Why is it troubling your heart? It has something to do with the lens through which you're looking at that thing, rather than the thing. take so many examples. Take the example, Ramayana has some really good ones. Why did Ram do this and why did Ram do that? Why did he shoot volley from behind a tree? Why did Ram send his wife, pregnant wife, to the forest? It's unsettling. And there's answers, but if one, faith, Ram is Maryada Purushottama. So there must be an explanation. Just my little pea brain doesn't know it. And my sense of morality and what's immoral, it grates against my sense of morality and immorality. And with the Bhagavatam, other, so many other. Like, one of the Bhagavatam ones says, Bali Maharaj surrendered everything, and what did Vamana do? He tied him up. He tied him up in such ways like, you only deal with hardened criminals the way that he tied him up. So maybe you didn't get disturbed by that, but there were people in the assembly that were really disturbed. He surrendered everything. He gave you everything. And you did this to him? What kind of gratitude is that? And so there's an answer. And it may take a while to settle the answer. So that's the sadhu sangha. You have persons you can go to that can help you look through a different lens than your conditioned mind lens. My set of values say this is definitely wrong. And why did, such an exalted person do something wrong? Anyway, so those three things. And be patient. That's the parking lot. I don't have an answer. I've been doing it just on one note that came in class several mornings ago with Arudha. She was asking, what's the destination of a Buddhist? And just this morning, I came across a many-paged article written by Chandrasekhar, the GBC, because in China, Buddhism is a big thing. So there's 6 topics that he deals with, and one of them is the destination of a Buddhist. And there are different brands of Buddhism, and there are different destinations. But the essence is the river Viraja. There's no scriptural reference for that because scripture was written before Buddha appeared. There's no scriptural reference. But there's principle-based and acharya realizations on the topic. So, it's sadhu sangha. And being patient and having faith. And the principle. I mean, Buddha, to put it bluntly, Buddha was an atheist. Because one idea of atheism is you don't believe in God. But a more precise definition is you reject the Vedas. Because the Vedas reveal the Supreme. The Vedas are non-different. The Vedas are the breathing of Narayana, and they reveal Narayana. And you reject the Vedas, you're an atheist. That's strong language. Now, how could an incarnation this could grate against somebody that has a different sensibility? But Buddha is an atheist because one who rejects the Vedas rejects God. So we reject not Buddha. We reject the teachings of Buddha because he's an atheist. He's not a bad atheist. He's a Bhagavan. But the behavior is the behavior that we reject the teachings of Buddha, not Buddha. And the teaching that in addition to rejecting the Vedas, he said things that just aren't, his core teachings are not correct. So why did Krishna do something like that? Then there's answers. If you want, I can send you that article. Yeah. Ask Garuda, she'll send it to you. Give me something less to do. So those are the three things I recommend. Okay, something else. There's some hands over on this side. Oh, you got a microphone already.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So my question was about the knots, 7 knots. Dundukari was there, and after the 7th day.
I can't hear you. Yeah, I think the microphone's on, but you're soft. Your voice is very soft.
Yeah. So
Better.
Yeah. The question about the 7 knots on the bamboo.
About the what?
The 7 knots on bamboo when the Dundukari was.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So any deeper significant, Maharaj?
No, just an indicator,
Okay.
a sign, lakshana.
Oh. Thank you.
That's all. Anyone else? Okay, there's someone else. You have a microphone?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
So I had 2 questions.
Two.
So in like this past time, we heard that like Suryadev said that what if Gokarna reads like the Bhagavatam to like Dundukari, him and like all of his like lineage will be like liberated, right? And like
Yes,
a lot of the things in like the Bhagavad Gita or like the Bhagavatam or some books that we read are like, okay, if you do this, then like you're for sure to be liberated. Like if you do this
We
Ekadashi,
discussed this yesterday at length. I can give you a summary. You can go finish.
yeah,
it.
but I was just gonna say like it says like, okay, like if you do this Ekadashi, then you're for sure to be like liberated.
Yeah.
So if we're for sure to be liberated if we do like this one thing, then why do we have to practice for like our whole life?
We discussed it. Here's a summary. And if you want to hear it more than the summary, then you go back and hear the recording from yesterday. That exactly your question was the topic from yesterday. There's two principles. One, doesn't say how long it'll take. It says it'll happen. So that means the journey has begun. So that such and such, it's not exaggeration, it's not an over-exaggeration, it's for real, but it's the beginning of something. Tomorrow I'm getting on an airplane and going to India. I'm already on that airplane in my mind. But I hadn't gotten on the plane yet. And not only that, but they postponed the departure by 2.5 hours. They were kind enough to let me know ahead of time. You know, and I'm not there yet, but you know, in my mind I'm there. I'm already like, I know what I'm going to do when I get there, but I'm not there yet. So it's like you have a destination, you put it in your GPS. So you have a GPS?
Yeah.
Okay. Supposing you don't put the destination in your GPS, what happens?
I'll go to the wrong spot.
The GPS will tell you where you are.
Yeah.
But it doesn't tell you how to get to where you want to go. But suppose you put the destination into the GPS and you got the right address, it'll tell you how to get there. And then supposing, because this happened to me once, the GPS directed us to go to right through a roadblock because there was construction at a university. There was big roadblock. But the GPS didn't know that. So we went around the block and then the GPS redirected us to get to our destination. So be clear what your destination is. That's this mahima, the great thing that's going to happen. And it may take a while to get there. And there may be obstacles along the way. Then the second part of your question, why do you have to keep doing good stuff too? Because it's the nature of getting there. So back to the question. There's potency in such and such. It's not an overestimation. The Sanskrit phrase is arthavad. Arthavad, an exaggerated statement just to get people pumped up to do something good. There's no such thing in bhakti scriptures. That's what our acharyas say. So what is it if it's not that? It's the beginning, and then there's the continuation of a beginning. I'm not on the airplane. I'm not at the destination yet. But I'm as good as getting there. Krishna permitting, of course. Does that help?
Yeah,
Okay.
that helps. Thank you. And I had another question. So I've been like kind of like not born into Krishna consciousness, but like raised in it.
Okay.
And like I feel like I've already heard like, you know, like I've been in it like almost my whole life. So like I've heard a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
And like recently I've been trying to get into like reading more, like
Good.
actually reading Srila Prabhupada's books. But I feel like right now I'm reading the Ashopanishad. And like when I'm reading it, I'm like, I've literally heard all this before. Like it's great, but it's not like making a difference, or it's not like making an impact, because I'm just reading everything that I've like already heard.
Okay. This question was the same conversation that I had with a nice devotee who I've known since she was a little girl, and she's now, a college kid. Maybe you are too. And a big thing happened with her was attending the Sangha initiative. You heard of that one?
Yeah.
Did you go?
No, I'm not old enough yet.
Huh?
I'm not old enough yet.
You're not old enough yet.
I'm 17. I have to be 18 to go.
How old do you have to be to go to TSI?
18.
Really?
Yeah. They changed the age.
Oh. Well, I can put you in touch with this girl, because she can share with you her experiences, which are similar to yours. Because they had different groups, of different discussion groups with people that were in, I've heard it all, that there's nothing new. And then there are persons that are it's all new. So it has everything to do with Sangha and Guna, the quality. If you just want, something new, then you're likely to not have gone into the depth of what is there besides, I want something new. In other words, superficial hearing doesn't cut it. I could give other examples, but I won't do it right now. I think that, the dilemma is not unusual, because this nice devotee, I'll give you her name later, but this nice devotee grew up in Krishna consciousness, and so she knows that space. It's nothing new here. And then it's not just youth; it's adults. It was supposed to happen. It didn't happen for different reasons. But there was Hemangi and Nityananda Pran were invited to give a seminar on exactly this topic. The heading of it was, I'm still chanting, I'm still reading. Not much is happening. It's not just youth, and you growing up in it, and it's it's staying on the surface, and that's why nothing's happening, or not much is happening. It's happening, but it's very light. It's similar to this little story that people heard, but nothing really happened, because they weren't hearing sufficiently or really attentively, because they were just the audience, and they weren't really. It's not for me, anyway. So association with others that have an ability to taste will help you get a taste. And, and like this thing of discussion groups. Supposing the people that are part of this discussion group that Bangsidhari mentioned, would they have done that on their own? Probably not. Maybe some, but probably not most. And those that have, they've probably gotten a lot from it that they wouldn't have gotten even if they had done it on their own. So my recommendation for you is who can be satisfied with the surface? If you just want information, you can get more information. Read carefully, you get more information, and more information, and more information. If you're an information hound, you'll find more information. I do like that. I mean, like this discussion about the destination of a Buddhist. And I researched and read, and so I was learning. But it wasn't just information. It's a principle-based question, not information. It's information, but it's more than information. It's transformation. With the conviction that I want to know where I'm going. I don't want to just do something because somebody says do something, and I go, nod my head and do that something, although I'm not really purposeful in what I'm doing. I don't want to do that. Thank you. And you don't either. So thank you. So then find a way, primarily association, and a deeper thoughtfulness from within you of what's the purpose of reading? What's the purpose of life? What's the purpose of, supposing you don't know what the purpose is, then you can become, an existentialist. Nothing matters. You know that one. Have you studied existentialism?
Well, I actually have not.
Huh?
I have not.
I did. I just share little sharing. I studied French for 5 years, starting in high school. And because I studied French for 5 years, starting in high school, it means I started before I was even in high school. One of the later years, they wanted us to read a book by Albert Camus in French. I mean, it's available in English, but I read it in French, and he's an existentialist. He was teaching existentialism. And in his life, his life ended because nothing mattered. So he just drove his car off a cliff and ended his life because it doesn't matter, living or dead. There's no meaning. Existentialist. Is there meaning or is there no meaning? And if there's meaning, is it just you make it up or somebody says this is the meaning and you nod your head to say yes, that's the meaning. That's not, I can't do that. So don't just read because somebody said you're supposed to read. I mean, you can do that too, but what's the deeper reason? What's there?
For me?
What's the purpose? Who am I? And what's life? And, those are uncomfortable questions because we don't always have answers. But then you got the parking lot. You keep asking the question, and then some light will come, and you get a little bit better understanding. You read like that. What's the purpose of this reading, please? And you can hear, brings light into the dark age of Kali. Well, that's a nice sounding thing. Is that really what's happening? I'm reading, I'm chanting, not much is happening. Because it remains superficial. Bhakti is from the heart. That's what we want. Now, I'm thinking about time. And I think it's time to end. Although there's probably other people who want to raise their hand and say something. I'm a little pressed for time because of the yatra. So I'm going to excuse myself and see you guys tonight, those who have come this evening for the evening program. And I'll warn you or advise you, it's going to be a short class because they want to do some rah-rah Srimad Bhagavatam-Septs tonight. It's okay. It's fine with me. A short class, it's fine with me. I'm heading for Haridwar. And just for you, I'm learning a lot. Some of it is I've just forgotten, and some of it is new, And all of it, because I'm me, it's not just information, more information, pass on the information, but it's you go forward in your devotional life with a different purpose than just information gathering. And it's transformational. You experience, you start to carry it inside. And then when bumps come along, because it's the place of duality, and bumps come, you're okay. Because it's just part of the duality of the place, and that's not who you are anyways. Then who are you? Then that's the discovery, journey of self-discovery. And when you know who you are, then next comes, I'm part of the Supreme, and your attraction for topics of Krishna become so much, enlivening. Not, I heard that one. What's the next one? Give me something new, please. This relationship, based on who you are and the object, the supreme lovable object, who we've kind of lost track of. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki,